With another year gone, it's time for a Games of the Year 2024 edition. I struggled a lot with the choices I made as each category had some serious contenders. For this year, I'm changing the formula and turning my Game of the Year into the game I enjoyed most. Or in other words, no releasing in the same year restrictions anymore. So the top game that I played in 2024 was Chained Echoes. This game surprised me on so many levels and provided me a glimpse into what I feel the future of turn-based RPGs can become. There were so many features, quality of life improvements, and just really good ideas all throughout it that made for a quality experience through and through. I found the story to be enjoyable with a solid cast of characters. The dialogue was really nice between various party members and their interactions were quirky and funny. I liked that each character had their own introduction as well as how the game incorporated them. The combat was enjoyable and added some nice twists to help make the experience fresh. Every character had something for me to be curious about, and the battles never got old for me. Without a doubt, a standout game for the year, and who knows, I may find myself playing the DLC. Even though Chained Echoes took the crown, there was one game that stood out to me in every way and has tempted me even with the second playthrough. For my favorite game played in 2024, which is effectively runner-up to Games of the Year this go-around, was Wandering Sword. To say I found myself perplexed and even annoyed for the first 10 to 20 hours of this game would be a weird thing for me to say here, but that's exactly what happened. Couldn't quite latch on to the game all too well and struggled to find something to hook me in. And then I found it and the subsequent 50+ hours were filled with so much intrigue and anticipation. It's really rare for me to find myself not enjoying a game as much at the start and growing to like it as it progresses, but that's what I got. The story pieces started to click. I began to understand why the earlier portions were the way they were, and suddenly, I'm running around trying to do more than I ever wanted to at the beginning. The game's approach is also just different. It isn't the typical turn-based RPG with familiar tactical elements. This game has some rough edges to it that can be off-putting. For example, the user interface is not the most friendly and the amount of reading is enormous. The combat can feel overwhelming at all stages of the game and you will feel weak for a long time. But once you reach that hook, you may find yourself being as engrossed as I was. The characters kept me interested, the plot developments kept me intrigued, the plot twists were great to encounter, and the combat really came together. I really had such a fun time with Wandering Sword, and despite the rocky start, it stands out to me as one of the best games I've played this year. For the most disappointing game, I'm once again filled with a lot of choices. Both Grandia 3 and Monochrome Mobius, Rights and Wrong Forgotten, both started off strong and then crashed and burned for me. My hopes for Trails Through Daybreak 1 to evolve were obliterated, and my desires for Shadow Hearts From the New World to return to the tone and atmosphere of Shadow Hearts 1 never came to be. But when it comes to Final Fantasy X-2, I found myself disappointed on so many levels, and that's the one that has to take the spot. To say this game is reminiscent of Final Fantasy X would be a disservice in my opinion. With the opening of the game, I thought we were exploring a spin-off with Yuna as a singer. What I got instead was a goofy adventure trying to call back to its predecessor too many times. The seriousness of the events unfolding and the silly scenarios we kept finding ourselves in were just too jarring for me. It got to the point where I questioned who wanted a game like this. If you really enjoyed Final Fantasy X, the tone shift in subject matter would be a huge turnoff. If you played this game with no prior experience, its own pieces failed to craft a worthwhile standalone adventure. The story was weak, the combat was crazy, the characters were annoying, and nothing felt right. If only I got that singing adventure game instead. For some Game of the Year honorable mentions, I gotta shout out the Dealfield Chronicle. This game really surprised me because the whole time I was going through it, I just knew there was this mysterious something about it. Then I beat the game, and I just felt so good. It made me look back on my playthrough and appreciate it so much more. It's one of those rare games that I still think about and say to myself, yeah, that was awesome. What holds the Dealfield Chronicle back for me is the satisfaction of character progression though. There are moments where I'm building up to something specific and the cost-benefit ratio felt very poor. Another honorable mention is Unicorn Overlord. Me as a normal difficulty player loved this game. I got to go around and just absolutely destroy missions while building up my squad with the playstyle that made it the most fun for me. The art style was great and a lot of the activities in the game greatly interested me. There was definitely more I wanted from the game, so I'm really hoping a sequel comes around. What held Unicorn Overlord back for me was the story, or lack thereof. The gameplay is very strong, and it was a major factor for my enjoyment, but the story and its utilization of characters could have been exceptionally stronger. The last honorable mention is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There was so much mystery regarding how they were going to handle various elements of the original, and for me, it delivered with so much detail. The absolute expansiveness of the game combined with the character development was fantastic. And don't even get me started on the combat because, oh my goodness, was it so good. Action RPGs can never be looked at the same. The factor that knocked this one out of the running was the story though. The changes and additions of the game are brilliant, but I needed more out of the core narrative. I wanted a better reason to do the things that we were doing and for that to be important. Instead, it struggled to find relevancy. Regardless, all of these honorable mentions had the common factor of great gameplay and were a ton of fun to play. When the competition is so fierce, the nitpicking has to happen. When looking to 2025 and beyond, there are actually quite a few games out there that I'm anticipating, but my hype for Clair Obscur Expedition 33 or The Outer Worlds 2 pale in comparison to Ghost of Yotei. I've been waiting for a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima ever since I played it and can't wait to get back into whatever it is that's going to be in store for me. Not only am I anxious to experience the culture of Japan again, but I can't wait to visit the world and explore all the wonderful spots and beautiful scenery. But that's all I got for my Games of the Year 2024. Thanks for watching, appreciate it, see you on the next video.